You know what's really horrifying? Per your recommendation, I watched the movie Contagion literally last night with Liz.
Yep.
Oh my fucking God. It is literally to a T. I mean, she was terrified. She was like, this is really scary because it really feels like exactly what is unfolding in front of us in real time, in real world.
So I got back from Greece on Friday night.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago. And on Saturday, Karen and I, we watched Outbreak and Contagion.
I heard Outbreak is not as good.
It's not as good. And
Contagion is like, dude, whoever wrote that has got to be like, feel like he's got a big dick swinging around. Like, yeah, motherfucker, like I was right. I told you that movie was good. I told you that movie was scientifically accurate because it was too. Even your social distancing in the fucking movie, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, when they said, I need to practice social distancing, I about fell off my chair. Like, this was made in 2011. What?
The only inaccuracy in that movie is like, well, not inaccuracy. The only parallel that's not there is we have social media is bigger. And cell phones are better. It's literally the only difference now. It's like, fuck, like, and they're probably YouTubers instead of a blogger. Like, right. Like the world is a little bit different 10 years later, but it's very similar in that movie. It's like, wow.
Yeah, what's happening? And so it's just,
it originated in China? I don't want to go very far down this rabbit hole, but have you seen any videos from China? Holy shit. Like, it's scary. Like, I don't know. We shouldn't really say much about China. I don't want to, but it's like the things I've seen on video from that country, I'm just like, whoa, it's horrifying.
You mean as far as the disease?
The response, they're like welding people into buildings, like they're the sirens and people like it's like shut down streets with police walking on the. It looks apocalyptic. It's like what the fuck, like.
Well, but they are they're a communistic country.
Yeah, and then what's worse is I don't know what, like, you hear that some guy who got it earlier is now healthy in China. Like, do I believe that? I don't really believe that. I don't believe anything that comes out of there. Like,
well, here's the place I don't buy. Russia. Come on now. They have a huge border with China and nobody has it. I mean, the published stats are super, super low. I just find that hard to believe. But hey, if it's true, great. I just find it hard to believe that like there's no cases hardly.
Well, and that's what's interesting about. It's funny. The movie is what made me think about all this. Like in the movie, China tries to cover up how real it is there because they're afraid it makes them look bad. Totally, that's how it is now. Like I'm certain that they're definitely not telling us everything, and they help spread it because they, for a while, kept it concealed, not wanting to make themselves look bad. And as a result, it made it worse for the whole world. And now is not the time to finger point. I think maybe if we ever do get to that point, it's when everything's away and done. But it's just a sad reality. Like, I don't believe everything I'm hearing because I don't know what to trust. Or I think that's part of why this is awful, but it's true. I think part of why people haven't taken it seriously for a long time is because of a lack of trust with the media. I don't even trust the fucking sports media, let alone political media. Like, when I hear people, like, remember how much people freaked out over swine flu, over all this stuff that really was kind of inconsequential? When you cry wolf over and over and over again, and then a real thing fucking happens, nobody trusts you or believes you because for years you've done that, and for years it didn't actually matter. It's so sad, the relationship the public has with the media right now. Nobody trusts anybody because it's so financially driven rather than truth driven.
Well, just Google images of coronavirus in Italy. It's real. It's bad. I have two of the travel writers I was on my tour with in Greece who live in New York City. And the texts and the stories I get from them.
I was just in
terrible.
New York.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of friends in New York. It's horrifying there. Yeah. Everything's empty, shut down. People are like literally scared for their lives.
Yep. So yeah, at first, the thing I want people to get out of this is it's for real.
Yeah,
I don't know how bad it's going to get. I hope it is. I hope it is not bad at all. Here's my worry. We take a situation like Oregon that as of today has roughly 300 cases and not that many deaths, although every death is tragic. I'm not minimizing that. But everyone's freaking out. They've been home for like 2 weeks now. Monday before last is when they shut down the restaurants. They didn't declare the stay-at-home order until this Monday. But for a lot of my friends in the restaurant business, they're going on 2 weeks, whereas everyone else is going on 1 week in Oregon home. And people, either whether it's 1 or 2 weeks, they're freaking out how terrible it is. And some of these people think, we're going to get to the middle of April, and yay, everything's going to be fine. And I don't think so. I think they're going to at least keep people locked up
till May 1st,
if not June 1st. And what my concern is, if it works. And there's not a lot of cases, for example, in Oregon, because they flattened the curve, instead of, everybody at once, they just had, 50 cases a week, and there's just not that many cases when we get to May 1 or June 1. My fear is people just start, we got to get out, get us back to work, open the restaurants. Well, people still have it. And so then if they unleash the hounds then, boom, 30 days later, you've got to, so like,
Well, not to mention that there's already the belief that what happens in the summer months with the flu or the virus is it lulls and comes back like a swinging baseball bat in the fall. And what's horrifying is that's probably when we're going to be released is like at least August. We're probably back. Who knows? I have no idea. We might be back to normal by August because people want football. People like it's huge. Our economy is going to need it. But then what if we bring everybody back and then it comes back like a wave? And my fear is that the NFL season is going to get screwed up. I mean, that would be horrible for me financially and just be awful for everybody. Like if football, here's what could happen. We let people come back to football. People go to games. A football player gets it. And then everything's shut down again for like another 6 months. I mean, it would just be terrible.
So,
if I may, like if we do get to a point where we let everybody back out and then realize how bad it is and to pull people back in, it's going to be even longer than needed because it's going to be an overreaction. Does that make sense? Like,
yep.
If we need 3 months in our houses, it'll be 6 because people are going to be so scared and the government's going to be so worried that it's going to have a really like overreach of how long we need to be quarantined. What are you looking up?
So the Spanish flu, according to Wikipedia, I wanted to correct my stat.
Yeah.
In India, they, according to Wikipedia, killed about 12 to 17 million people in 1919, about 5% of the population.
You know what sucks?
In one country. Now it went from January 1918 to December 1920. It affected about 500 million people.
Well, also what's sad, think of how much bigger their population is now, right? Like that's based on 1919 statistics where the population was like a fraction of the size of what it is today. Like,
yep.
How many more, if it's the same percentage of people as it was back then, it'd be millions and millions and millions in India. Does that make sense? If it was 12% back then and 12% was a million, it might be 25 million based on how many people live there in that country.
So some interesting facts, just because we're talking about it, I think it's interesting. So where did the Spanish flu begin?
No idea. Spain? I don't know.
A military base in Kansas. United States of America, Kansas.
Were they testing on crap or?
That's just where it started. And then World War I is happening, and all the troops got it, and they sent all those troops all around the globe, and they spread it to some English troops, and then the American troops and English troops spread it around the whole planet.
Oh, the Spanish flu was, I didn't realize it. I never made that connection of the time, how it's overlapped with the World War I. Oh, man.
And you know why it's called the Spanish flu?
Why?
Because none of the press could report on the flu in any of the countries fighting World War I because they didn't want their enemy to know all these people are dying. So the only country that had free press was Spain. So Spain is saying everybody's dying everywhere. And it became called the Spanish flu because they're the only ones talking about it. And what happened with the Spanish flu is millions of people died. The thing came around in spring of 2019. Millions of people died in fall of 1919 in the month of October. Because
it's so interesting how that story is overlapping. The two movies I watched in the last 2 days it's funny how they overlap. I watched Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks, which is in the Cold War, where the press is not telling anybody anything because they don't want the enemy to hear what they're talking about. And then I watched Contagion, and it's interesting how in the Spanish flu, both of those worlds collided and overlapped, where we had a real epidemic, or pandemic, I guess maybe is the word.
Yep.
And no one was telling anybody anything because they didn't want to. Oh my gosh, it's horrible.
Yeah, so Spanish flu didn't start in Spain. It started in Kansas.
Yeah.
At a military base.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, was
it hunting? Like, or did they create it? Who knows, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bad.
Yeah.
And so my fear is that regardless of what happens, think people are going to go back to work in August or July or June. That's my guess. I have no idea, but I'm guessing. And then I hope we don't have a recurrence in November and December because it's warmer now. October is nice now in Oregon. Climate change may be a thing. It seems to get warmer later or colder later. So my concern is that November, December is when we have a big comeback.
Why is it, and you might not know the answer, again, neither of us are scientists.
We have no idea.
Like, we try to be honest about that, right? We're two normal dudes talking as father and son. I mean, this is actually what's funny. This is the first time you and I have sat down and talked about any of this stuff.
Correct. Yes, we haven't, because I haven't really seen you since I got back.
Well, because we've been quarantined, man. Like, you were in Greece and now you're back. I enjoy getting to catch up with you. But to be clear, like, we're just a father and son. And I hope if you're listening and you don't have someone to talk to about this, you hear like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone in my feelings. I hear other people conversing about just what's going on. But what's interesting is, and maybe you don't know the answer to, why is it that when it's warmer, a flu slows down. I don't have any idea why that happens.
My limited understanding is that flu is not as a strong virus, and it doesn't do as well in hot, humid climates. It dies.
Got it.
So their hope,
Yeah, the summer will inoculate it, maybe.
but it appears to be, appears, we don't know,
Yeah.
stronger than the flu. And so who knows what will happen in hot, humid climates. There's a lot of speculation, and they're probably right, but we don't actually know.
That's what's scary.